there.
Welcome.
Welcome back, everyone, to Stars Higher the Matter. My guest today is Sean Bond, and it's kind of been a spur of the moment thing, but all things for a reason. And it's it's interesting to see how spirit works for things. And I'm going to interject with this first, Sean. Is I've been going through watching. I'm a Scorpio, so watching the astrology for Scorpios and the tarot readings for Scorpios for January or this week, and it's interesting. No matter who, no matter what, there is a theme, and for me, it was being able to finally let go of the past. And I kept asking, "How's that going to happen?" And then you showed up. So let's continue with this.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad to help you. Most of it is emotional body issues, so you can like make that aspect in a filing system of your body for the emotional body, mental body, astral body, etheric body, dreaming body, all this kind of different separations of the technology, so you can monitor it in a greater whole and learn from it, so that you can of what's negatively affecting you to see what you can do with those spiritual technologies to amplify your life, to make it better. So, every a wound can be learned from, everything can be healed. So we're scaling the huge or outrageous number of things that like would want to keep this wound existing, and then into the future, I'm going to start bringing all those negative connections down in your timeline. I'm going to start healing in a greater level, getting back your soul shards again, and the light body, and we're healing the wounds. Um, a big part of it is retaking all stolen energy, which goes back into the concept before with demons. They have almost no power when they have none of your energy. They want to steal your energy subtly without you realizing, so they fill themselves up with as uh, big balloon to make them look scarier than they really are. With your stolen authority, as soon as you start claiming more of it, you're deflating that balloon, and then you're reclaiming it back, and they have almost no power to affect your reality. And you can, resolve all of them in whatever way you learned. So we're doing that now. We're reclaiming your stolen energy from that person, as well as any being that's working through them, making a big blacklist for everything that's interacting with them in degrees of separation, heart connections, the relationship section. It's also like there's a version of yourself. Okay, that's bleeding over from the past that goes back pretty far. Let's see. Hmm. It goes back to the Egyptian fall of that civilization, where you've interacted with this person before in a um, this isn't a
Uh,
direct line of incarnations, meaning it's a branch of your being. As a multidimensional being, you exist in all expressions of light, dark, and neutral to extend your chess moves of influence in this game, to play it at a greater level. So you have versions of yourself that are like going into the dark expression for knowledge and resiliency, and then learning from that, and then eventually being able to heal them. If you didn't have them, it would like they're like the targeting point for all the dark shit, and you're quarantine it to them, and then eventually full resolution to bring them into a neutral expression. This is a version of you that isn't affecting you well, so we can cut cords from that as well, and then resolve anything that is keeping them bleeding over. I believe they're not aware of their bleed over to you. They're haunted in a way that is bringing them their aura into hijacking. So it also bleeds over a heart connection from them to you, and then siphons energy from multiple versions of himself. So we're going to resolve that as well. The biggest thing, emotional body. So how are you feeling? And what are some of the symptoms that come up, like since you went through this trauma? Like at night, do you get lots of, you said you get attacks at night. Do they attack during the day as well? And like, I know they would especially attack you at night when you're not like physically active, and to try to mess with your dream space and create a chess move for the next morning.
There's not a whole lot that goes on during the day. There's things that I would see, like I've always seen spirits and ghosts, and even around here I've seen like little shadows moving and such. But at night, it's maybe a little difficult to talk about. At night, before I would go to sleep, but when I would finally get relaxed, your body relaxes and you finally get that restful spot in the bed. It'd be like all the muscles in my body would start firing off and I would start twitching. And there would be times when it literally felt like my body was a suit something was trying to put on. There would be sexual attacks by something I can't see. I like it dark when I go to sleep, and it's like I can see more in the dark. I can see what's there when it's dark. When the room's totally pitch black, that's when my eyes can see. I guess it's my form of scrying, but at the same time, I am aware of what's moving around in the room. And like when there's no lights whatsoever, I live out in the middle of the woods. Like, so there's no street lights. So if I don't have any lights on outside and there's no lights on in the room, there's nothing for a light source to be reflective off of or to shine. I do see lights, like little points of light moving around the room. And I also see shadows. And keep in mind, like I've said, I've not had any problems with this in the past several weeks, thankfully. So I've been able to, but at the same time, I'll lay there and not be able to go to sleep. I'll lay there awake and my mind will just go through everything. It's hard to describe to somebody that hasn't experienced something like this, because, in my mind, they're going to think I'm freaking crazy. What's wrong with her? But people that have gone through spiritual warfare, these things, I can understand, I guess. Here's an interesting one. Oh, and as far as dreams, I rarely remember a dream, but there are some interesting ones, and they've had to do with UFOs when I have remembered them, which is weird, because other than that, I don't really recall a dream. But with stuff, I've been able to find my spiritual self, I guess. I can picture my spiritual being of who I am. And so I've decided to have some really cool wings that the feathers are actually all blades, if that makes sense. And
Yeah.
that's they're actually really freaking awesome. But they make a really good shield. There was a brief period of time where this green dragon, beautiful, gorgeous green dragon, and she came around, and I felt it was a she, and I think I know who it was. She came around, and the first night, it's like she was just checking me out. The second night, we got into battle. And I knew I could kill the dragon, but I chose not to. So after doing battle for a while, what I ended up doing was just shielding myself inside my wings, because they're metal, they're cool, they're super strong, they're they're freaking awesome, man. I really want this set of wings now. But I I ended up just shielding myself inside my wing, kind of huddling down, and I could see she just kind of got frustrated and kind of thought she had won, and then just walked off, and I didn't have any more issues with that dragon. Yeah. Yeah, but as far as dreams, like I said, the only ones I have that I remember have to do with either being on a light ship where everything was pastel and emitted its own light, and I was having this conversation with this other being of light on this ship, and I started waking up, and I got mad because I didn't want to leave. I wanted to finish my conversation. I was mad that I was waking up. I was like, no, I want to go back. I want to go back. There was another one where I was in a vehicle with a friend, and I don't even know what vehicle it was. I was in a vehicle with a friend and my daughter and somebody else. And we were driving down the road, and I said, stop, stop. They're here, they're here. And there was all these ships, all these UFOs in the sky. And it was like this field, power lines on the side of the road, kind of in the middle of nowhere. And there was all, I'm like, let's all get out of the car. They're here, they're here. And other people were stopping too. So, yeah, it's just a couple of the dreams. But anyway, so as far as what I was going through at night, that would go on for a bit. Like the muscles twitching, the sexual energy attack, whatever. And this other language that I speak would come through. And I could sense that they were taking something, they were taking energy from me. And there's times I would fight it, but there's also times that I would allow it to happen because I was trying to figure out what was going on. It's like I'm asking who, what? Let me see. Let me see you. Let me know what's going on. I want I'm curious by nature. So even if I'm going to get bit by a snake, I still want to figure out what kind of snake it is and all that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, so okay. Does that help you at all? Oh, but one more thing I wanted to say at the end of whatever this sessions I was having at night, I would uh, I would immediately like just go limp. I would immediately go limp, and it's kind of like I would stop breathing, and then suddenly I'll take a breath in, and I'm like, okay, that's over. You know, it was, oh, there, take that and run with it, Sean.
Yeah, there's a lot to go into with that. Like, it's a continued energy harvesting, targeting type of haunting scenario based on beings that have force entangled you through the traumas and are trying to whittle you down over time with what is low energy usage when you're at your time of mm, least energy.
Vulnerability,
So that
yeah.
a low ability to fight back. So like going into scanning, do you remember a big attack when you were with this person? Let's see, going back, it might have like caused a big migraine or pain, teeth pain, stomach pain, back pain, neck. Could be
Well,
like
that
whatever
was him with the
particular.
first time I ever had an ulcer or thought I was having an ulcer. There'd be almost every night I'd go to bed with a headache. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
that makes sense.
hmm
So something force entangled with you, it's not like a full possession in any way. It's like based on who you are to change your timeline. I've had this happen to me. It's not like a end all thing. I have a counter chess move to it. We can heal it. The majority of things that have tried force entangled with you is you have archon beings that are targeting you to suppress you from becoming more powerful based on your predictive model and who your spirit is, as well as you have some interesting things with your DNA and rare DNA where you healing yourself affects your entire DNA lineage and is healing them as well. Every night you're going through like a certain battle and then a resolution for it, and you're getting stronger at it in resiliency, and that like where it goes away is kind of like where you beat it each time, but like still it's kind of like a battle of like like attrition, whatever that. Yeah. Anyway, you also have a rare DNA lineage introduction that is the cause of this other thing in possession, where multidimensional apex predators in this type of expression of it's like a shape shifting tiger shark concept. You have this DNA, which can lead into many interesting water abilities that are passed down to you in a mystery school that you can access. And a large
Really?
amount of tiger sharks have tried force changing your timeline in negative connection through the the mail as well. Um, in that big targeting, you have a whole bunch. So we're doing a remedy process for that. The green dragon is interesting. It is another being that you have also a DNA lineage connection to, not it specifically, though that type of species of dragon family you have as an introduction in DNA, and it is connected to that, and it's looking for uh, members of the DNA lineage to steal stuff from, as well as you're affecting it in your healing. So it became aware of you through some type of energetic upgrade that you went through. And
Well,
then
let me
it
ask you about. Okay, finish what you're doing. I want to ask you about my DNA stuff.
sure. And then it was working through your expression of observation through your DNA, and this was brought up in a resiliency factor where your ego, which is a it's separate from you, it is a part of your spirit. Like spirits have an ego, and when we incarnate into the physical, DNA lineages have programs that interact with the ego that can negatively program it to turn into the adversary and the opposer, and they're usually people's ego are out of control, and they're not aligning with them, and they like steal their energy, and they do all kinds of interesting things. I'm gonna release a video on it in a bit, but you gained you have like your third totem is that green dragon. Through that interaction that you gained like a resiliency factor to it. It has a survival mechanism. When our ego comes into full healing, we want to heal our egos fully and get them out of competition, and there's many different aspects to them. So people will go through a meditation of healing their ego and only heal like aspects of it, not fully, and then it'll keep acting up in some way. But yeah, if we get into it healing, it can be a powerful resiliency factor to our survival, because it's all about that, and also can take up programs. So you have a dragon totem for your shadow self. So your shadow self has totems too, like the regular totems that people express are like the light body, um, expecto patronus, extension of our light body that is programmable, has its own territory, can do missions, can be sent off to locations, be seen by other people, and uh,
I don't feel
you
like
can
I
follow
have
on journeys.
harnessed that enough.
Mm.
I don't feel like I have harnessed that ability to. I love Harry Potter for his, or it had a lot of really good stuff in it. For the story that it was, it still had a lot of good stuff in it. So as far as using my own Patronus that way, I I I need to practice that more. Back to my DNA question, my dad told me that I have an aunt through his side that has had 6 fingers. So I never had that. I've got 10 fingers and 10 toes, but apparently I have a relative through my dad's bloodline that had 6 fingers. Um, I do have Native American blood in me. I with Cherokee, and consequently, my daughters have a lot more Cherokee and Scottish in them. A lot more through my ex-husband's side of the family. Their great grandmother is 100% Cherokee. So, let's see, my ex-husband's grandfather's mother was 100% Cherokee, and her grandmother's last name was Kelso or O'Kells. So, on my children through his side are like directly Scottish and Cherokee, and I've got Cherokee and a whole bunch of other stuff I'm not totally sure about, but I know I have that in me. So as far as my DNA, tell me more about that. I I want to know who I am. I want to know who I am and what I need to fix to be a better me without sounding like it's all about me. It's not, but it is. Anyway.
Right.
Oh, and one other thing. Mace had asked a question. Do I have any thought form attachments?
Okay. Um. Okay. So with the DNA, and who you are, your impressive spirit, so that like you your DNA and your spirit don't necessarily have to define each other, though the spirit will usually have interactions in many different incarnations of itself, branching back in the lineages that are pooled together in that genetic pool, as well as branch out to others as they're trying to, as spirits are trying to get as many experiences as possible all at once to resolve a bunch of stuff and also have a good experience through that lifetime. So you have interactions with most of the DNA that you have and are influencing the ancestral lineage to culminate it together backwards and forwards in time. Uh, you so you have expressions in the species of tiger shark shapeshifter, which is why negative ones are coming and trying to stop you from healing their species, as well as the archons with what they're trying to stop you with. Not like that you have interactions with them, everyone does. Um, the dragons, similarly, you have expressions of yourself going pretty far back, some in direct lines of incarnations of yourself as dragons, some of yourselves still existing as dragons, and some in your spiritual entourage. Let me see.
Not all dragons are bad, though,
Oh
right?
yeah, absolutely. I love dragons. They're not the
Me
same
too.
thing as Draco or any of the reptoids that hijack their symbol. They're not the same species at all. They're elemental beings spawned from the planet. They are light, dark, and neutral of all types of expressions, and they don't just exist on this planet. They're a very old multiversal species and residual image for the peak archetypal image for elemental hierarchy. Even if even if it's not a hierarchy, it's just like the respect um, of who they are in many different types. Anyway, so uh, thought formed attachments, right?
Yeah, that was a question. Does
Okay,
Star have any thought form attachments?
so that goes into the mental body aspect, and psionics. Psionics is a thought emission of energy, and like uh, mind over matter and all that. So there will be things that want to influence a person's thought as frequencies transfer back and forth between your environment as well as internal programs brought up by the parasympathetic, the ego, the sympathetic, light body bleed overs, other versions of herself through influence or thought, as well as sometimes having fractured personalities or bilocated existences or thought form constructs that are constantly coming up, negative connections, harvesting of our mental body, and even using that harvesting to observe our thoughts in a predictive model, or even influence our thoughts, because not all our thoughts are ours at all. And then that, like, if you get all that technology successfully up and running, you can lead to greater forms of telepathy and mental observation of your environment. Thought form entities are definitely something that needs to be we make these constructs as psionic beings ourselves, as well as their beings will make them, whatever is capable of doing that. And they will have a function, a program, a geometry, a way they express themselves, and sometimes a sentience that can be very short-sighted or even very advanced. It depends on what it's meant for. Thought form entities essentially is the description between what is a real being that exists regardless of something that needed to imagine it into existence, and it mostly interacting only with that person that approved it to exist, or if it was meant to interact with the greater collective unconscious through whatever authority is granted through that, or if it's stolen. There are some beings in the what is it, the Necronomicon, that has a fuckload of thought form entities that don't exist but are being used as a title for energy harvesting for fear and worship. And then there's some that exist, but like they're not completely accurate to that or whatever, as an example. And then that can also be brought into with paranoia programs, or things that like amplify that require our belief to exist at a greater level, and use triggers to get us to believe in them to amplify their existence. So
I know there's days. I know there's days that it's really difficult because it's like I am bombarded with negative thoughts about where I am in life, where I thought I'd be elsewhere by now, how there, it seems like whenever I would get my stuff together and finally get back on track, the rug will get yanked out from under me to a point where I was just tired. Just tired of getting everything going and being all happy. I finally got stuff together that just to have it all yanked out again. And for me, when I lost the job I had and moved, and I was dealing with all of this emotional trauma from leaving Lillington where I was and that whole situation and coming here, it literally took me months before I could even go out to even try to get a job again, only to finally get my insurance going and then to be fired illegally a second time from the same company that I had worked for before. I actually got my job back at the same company in a different town, but they fired me for reasons I could have argued, but I just had it. I just basically said F you and walked out. It was stupid. I was mad. I was hurt, and for the most part, I just gave up. I've been in a very stuck place mentally and emotionally, and it's frustrating to me because I know something has to change and I have to change it, but at the same time, I've been feeling powerless to do so, and I know this has a lot to do with it. So for that right there, Sean, I thank you for all this coming up the way it has today, because obviously I've needed it and I've wanted it and I've called for it. I've asked God to help me get out of this. And so, in that way, you're an answer to prayer. But to be able to get freed from what I started saying is there's days where it's just a constant bombardment to where I just cycled further and further down. And, I'm like, okay, maybe I just need to drink some more water. Maybe I'm just dehydrated. I'm getting grouchy, whatever. Because I know that affects me too. But, yeah, I don't know where to go from there. Go ahead, Sean.
So what would the outcome of the healing that would make you unstuck in your mind in seeing and imagining a greater version of yourself to work towards, and then we can then scale that and what is needed to get there. So
Like,
what do you see
what
in your
is
mind would be a unstuck version of you, and how would that express itself? Like you have a lot of anchors in trying to destroy your self-worth, or you're thinking you're any feeling of unworthiness, lots of doubt in your mind. There's lots of projections to limit you from other beings to get you to.
big lack of self-confidence, believe it or not. I used to, my kids would call me super mom because I could do anything. I put my mind to something, I can do it. If I think about it, I can make it happen. If something has to be done, I'll do it until I get done, and then I'll collapse from exhaustion, whatever. But it's just, it's not there, and I want it back. I want the old me back that can accomplish anything because I did. When I built my salon, then my hairdresser. I've been a hairdresser for over 25 years. I took a space and I made this beautiful salon, and even the landlord of the space was amazed at how I could do it. My clients were amazed. Everybody was just, wow, you made all this, you did this. It was beautiful. It was a lot of hard work. I literally put blood, sweat, and tears in that. And I just, all of my get up and go left. And I want it back. So for me, I guess you're asking me, what is it that I want to see me being? Is that what is that what you're asking? What?
Yeah. So we can work on self-confidence if you like.
Yeah, I want to heal people. I want to help other people. I want to help other people be strong within themselves. I want to help people. I want to heal people. I don't know how to narrow that down. Um, but I guess isn't that a way of me saying, oh, I want to heal myself? Is that what I'm saying? I also studied psychology. So for a person that goes way deep into herself anyway, because that's how I'm wired, to have studied psychology and then sit and think about myself or how I've screwed up, or, a lot of it is forgiveness. And I, I do that. I teach, I preach that. So I practice that, but it is a practice. It's not always that easy. I need to financially get on my feet again. I've been living on bare minimum. I'm I wanted to give card readings for people, and I put it out there, and I've not had a single bite. It's like everything I try to do just seems to disappear into the dust. All my efforts, they're they're fruitless. Um, I I want to be a happy, healthy, strong me, mentally, physically, and spiritually, and and yeah, be a light to other people. Not that I'm a guru or anything, but just a light that says, here's a path, here's some here's some guidance. The choice is yours. That is that making sense,
Yeah, yeah.
Sean?
That's good that
Like,
you brought that all into perspective. So we'll see that in a bubble for the future, and then gonna anchor in that timeline at a greater level. Um, so with the confidence, we're going to make a confidence operating system that's centered in your heart that will go to resolving all blockages in confidence and removing all negative connections of doubt, because it's a literal blockage that will keep you from advancing. You can see this as a fire that's growing in your heart as we lit the torch to grow it. It's right now at a little candle level. So I'd like you to, over time, cultivate that to grow stronger and stronger and stronger, and engulf your whole body in a purifying technology to burn up all blockages having to do with confidence. And that's also bleeding over large amounts of expressions of how the doubt is getting in, which is mostly through timeline incursions, which is using timeline technology mostly stolen from you. So we're going to start reclaiming that energy at a greater level and removing negative connections from your timeline, going back to your 0 point of creation, of in the 0 point of the fetus. You see yourself in the mother's womb, surrounded by the placenta of the void, and start creating a shielding process in that, because that's the most attacked point in your timeline, to gain awareness of all contracts you have for experience this lifetime, is what they're trying to access. So we're getting rid of that. You can sit in that womb and cultivate with the breath and cultivate bliss and um, get rid of anything that's harming you. And you can always go back to the fetus to prevent um, attack and bring it down to nothing, and scaling in, initiating your higher self to do the work, and you amplifying their ability to do so. So we're doing that now. This is also having a bleed over from a version of yourself that's a time traveler in Atlantis, and they're incredibly unconfident right now. They got a huge wound from not being able to help the timeline from destruction or events, and that's bleeding over to you in disconfidence of being able to change your local bubble of reality in your timeline and the greater timeline of interaction around you. So you can start reclaiming this ability more. It's very sought after, anything having to do with time. So you're going to want to constantly check anytime you gain more abilities in time. And it's a clearance based mystery school in the self that's approved by Earth and Source and a bunch of different beings that are looking back and forth in the timeline to see who's abusing stuff, who deserves it, and then you working to prove that you deserve it. So reclaiming all stolen energy with this is the biggest thing, because the negative beings don't have any authority in these abilities, so they have to steal it. So they're stealing your authority in that ancient version of yourself as well. So we'll go into you healing, that will amplify their ability to heal, and the whole thing will be more stable. Let's see here. And then that going into, you can actually note how much doubt you have, which is quite a lot. I'll give you a scaled number. It's like outrageous number. Like my outrageous number one is Trigon Trillion, and I stopped caring about how many zeros after that, so I just make it like outrageous number one, two, three, and it goes up. It's like you're at 12 of doubt current streams into your being, and we're gonna make a big trap for any doubt that's coming in your mind, so that we're resolving it, and then you become resilient to it, so you get better and better at resolving and burning up doubt with that fire in your mind. So the candle in your heart grew to about an inch and a half now in width, so it's growing more and more as you focus on it and you breathe into it that energy to amplify it, and then you bring confidence into its being. You can use mediums, such as music, dance, bliss activating. Bliss indicates you're successfully attracting charge to add to your programs, so you can have more ability to influence yourself, heal yourself, etc. So where you can, after the show, do whatever, listen to something heart activating to bring that confidence in, confident songs, motivational videos, speeches, things that build that confidence fire to a point where it sustains itself over time, and you can get better at monitoring it because they're going to want to lower it again and get you back into a state, but you can always bring it back up. It's just like learning uh, from everything that is coming in different avenues of back doors into your body, and closing all those back doors that aren't approved so that you can maintain a bubble of protection um, of your being.
I've got tears streaming down my face right now
Okay,
because I
well,
can feel it in my heart.
those are healing
I,
tears, so those are good. That other version of yourself is healing through you as well. Your tears have advanced technology to them as well based on your DNA lineage. And there's a lot being resolved right now, so just feel it through you and have confidence that you are healing yourself right now.
so in healing myself now, I am healing all the other aspects of myself also,
Yes.
right? And I do resonate with the Atlantis thing and the Egypt. I really resonate with those, and I won't go into all that right now. Wow. Wow. And stuff, you're right. I am he says I'm a huge electro antenna, and I can be very hard on myself. I get demanding, which is why often it would take me getting mad at myself to kick me out of whatever state I'm, the down states. Wow. Just got a lot going through my head at the moment. It's good stuff. It's memories. Like when I was a kid, I learned to shut up because of my mouth. It seemed like no matter how I tried to ask a question or want to find something out or whatever, I got my mom's backhand because I was smart alecky or I asked it the wrong way, and I got confused because I just wanted to know something. What did I say that was wrong? So eventually I just quit talking. So for me to have a radio show and to be on the radio is huge, actually, to that. It took a long time for me to get to where I felt anything I had to say had relevance to anybody, because I grew up being taught that what I said or thought didn't matter.
Your
Yeah.
What you have to say absolutely matters, and you are an amazing spirit, and I thank you so much for coming on the air and doing what you do and allowing platforms for people such as myself. People really need that in the world. So thank you with all my heart for having the confidence to step forward and maintain that self through all the strifes and the attack and the things that will want to put you down and get you back into the state, and then pushing through that and not letting it harm you and using it to teach yourself so you can become stronger, so you become immune to it, and then teach others how to do the same. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. And thank you. And my hope and prayers for this show is that it has helped somebody else out there. And we've got about 15 minutes left. And Sean, I want you to give out your information, how, what you do and how people can get in contact with you, or articles, links. What do you have, Sean?
Sure. Thank you. So
Mm-hmm.
You can reach me at silvercordss.com, or I'm also on YouTube and Facebook at Silvercord Silvercord Spiritual Science. And also you can reach me by something happened to my stuff. Can you still hear me?
Yes, I can still hear you.
Okay, something's glitching on my computer.
Those gremlins need to get out because they're not allowed here.
Yeah.
No more. Don't make
Uh,
me come after you.
yeah, so you can reach me there, and you can contact, if you want to reach me fast, you can contact my assistant Mary at mokorn@hotmail.com. It's also on the website silvercordss.com. And yeah, we can do a reading, healing, and we can resolve many problems. I constantly am growing in many different ways I can heal and problem solve, and I teach my abilities, so it's not like I was just born with this. I trained to be able to teach it to anyone. So come on by.
Wow. Wow. One of the things I asked Spirit a long time ago now is that I wanted to be all of who I've been, but the good parts, the abilities, the powers, the strengths, all those good parts of everything I've been in the past. In this lifetime, I have asked that I could have it. But at the same time, it's like that little voice in my head kept saying, you can't have all your powers back until you use them for good. You can't have all your powers back until you're not going to hurt anybody else with it. And I'm like, oh, come on. Okay, I'll try. But then you get challenged with somebody hurting you deeply, and yeah, I want to lash out. I had nearly a lifetime of pent up hurt and anger and emotion, and because I had learned to shut up, I couldn't voice that or find that balance or find that justice or fairness. So it's been a struggle because there's that part of me that you know don't harm, don't vengeance is God's, don't go for that. So I'm like, okay, God, I really don't like this person, you need to handle him because I know it. I want to do it to him right now, but I can't do it. I'm going to leave it to you. You know everything. You know what they're going through and how to handle them better than I do. And I don't want their blood on my hands. So, but at the same time, I've also not just believed, but known, and it's played out in my life. I get instant karma. It's like I've had this thing that keeps me on track, like keeps me on track. It keeps me from going too far off the deep end into the dark side because of the instant karma. So that's why I don't, go setting somebody's house on fire because they're effing asshole. So, but I have to watch my thoughts because even when I'm really angry and hurt, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. So when I was in that relationship and getting hurt on a daily, weekly basis, I was thinking very negative thoughts of different ways that his life needed to end it. And it needed to end. And I'm like, I can't do that because I know that when I'm wishing that on someone else, I am actually wishing it upon myself too. And I'm like, okay, God, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. Take that back. Erase that one. I didn't mean it. I'm sorry. And I'd have to constantly deal with my own emotions, trying to keep it in track because it's like, I'm a good person. I don't need to have these negative thoughts. This is not right. And it's been that constant battle. But now I see more of where that battle has been coming from and why and how to be free of it and to step into my warrior shoes more confidently and to take care of things on the spiritual level in a better way. Yeah.
And we'll put hell have no fury like a woman scorned. Um, we all deal with the thoughts coming in. And it's like if we can rise above it by realizing not all our thoughts or emotions are ours entirely or entirely accurate, and has greater wisdom in it and lots of information, so we can learn from it, so that we can grow in those spectrums of our technology and awareness and experience, so that we come in full control, or at least more control, over those aspects of our lives. So when they come in with like something that wants to change our timeline by influence us to blow up in a situation, that would change our timeline for the negatively, because when emotions get in that way, we're not thinking about the best possible thing that we could do for ourselves in any moment that would make our timeline better. We're thinking of what we're feeling and how to express our feeling that brings other people in aware of it and what it changes. So if we're able to observe those and learn from it, but not let them own us, and let the feeling kind of have its voice, but stay detached from it, we can out chess move anything that comes in to influence us in that way. Because a lot of people are just owned by their emotions or their ego or their mental processes, and they don't have any way to distinguish it or even want to uh, be out of the cyclical habit patterns of that mental prison or emotional prison that has been programmed into them to keep them acting a certain way in perception. And you being here has shown how much of that you have taken control, to where you choose your life, to have your own show, to share your ideas, to bring more of yourself to the world in a greater way, and learn from the world in everything that comes to you as a teacher.
um, the Atlantis connection you were talking about, my thought with that was, is that why in this lifetime, like literally from middle school, I was studying prophecy. I have I have studied pretty well, like I said, I've studied everything shift my entire life. What, no matter if it's spiritual or the monetary financial reset thing's supposed to happen, or how, I've studied how the government got taken over, the spiritual part of all this, the everything. And the prophecies of what's to be, but at the same time, knowing that all these prophecies are written in stone, they're not written in stone. Everything that we're told is for us to have a heads up of what's coming. But because we are co-creators, we can change that. And that has been my belief almost since day one, is that, yeah, this is what's written to happen, but are we just subject to it, or are we getting told what's coming down the pike so that we can take a different road? And that's what I've always believed.
Mm.
So at the same time of, so back to the time with Atlantis, and you said feeling helpless, that they couldn't change that or were unable to change, or feeling guilty. Is that why I've had this drive this lifetime to learn all this and to be who I am?
Yes, absolutely, and many other lives that are a greater influential factor as well, and the driving force to do it better this time. Um, no, things aren't set in stone at all. Like the future timeline is constantly changing. The only reason a lot of the prophecies even keep into a form of coherence is because of their vagueness to apply to many timelines all at once, based on oracles that have been able to see things that are set in stone based on habit patterns of all the consciousnesses involved, and how strong those habit patterns are to persist through time. These are constantly changing and in flux. So, and every individual has an ability to influence that timeline through their choice points, as well as a greater degree of interaction, the mystery schools of themself, earth, and source, and the reality bubbles of time, and the aggregate blanket of time bubbles of reality that interact with each other for the the main timeline that we're on that is interacting with many timelines for
I get it. I get it. I
manifestation.
got to tell you what I just saw in my head. Okay, so uh, I'm going to put this briefly. I have been in what some call, I guess, the Hall of Records. For me, it was this immense, big library-looking thing with all these rich colors. Everybody there was dressed in the best I could tell was like medieval royalty-looking garb. But I was shown this tapestry on the wall, and my thread through all of it, I could see it, and I was shown how everything was woven together. And what I just saw now is that all the dark colors in that just changed to bright colors. The
Yes,
whole tapestry just changed colors.
yes, your timelines are changing. You just activated an operating system that you used in many forms. There's like whole mystery schools into the weaving of tapestry into a timeline representation, and then be able to change that through color frequencies and apply a meaning to that. So that's absolutely what you can perceive to
Well,
change your timelines, to perceive all the darker colors and the timeline incursions and the darker influences for bringing something into a darker state of existence that are that can you can overlay that with many things, your body, your reality bubble, the greater timeline itself, though that's harder, and it can be a constantly counter chess move, so you gotta like make a big anchoring system, but for
yeah.
yourself is what you want to is what you're seeing. So you're healing your timelines right now and amplifying your ability to do so, and your that Atlantean version of yourself is actually healing quite dramatically right now.
Wow, we're out of time. I've got like a minute, minute and a half, and I don't know if we're on. We haven't been able to hear the music or anything today. But God, wow, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Sean.
I'm honored to be on your
You
show.
guys,
Thank you so much for having me.
you're very welcome. Everybody look up Sean. Um, he gave his sites out, and I know that he's part of Wolf Spirit Radio, so his information is out there. And Bill, I don't know if I've got time or left yet or if the music's playing, so I guess I'll keep talking. This, Sean, one more time, you want to give out your links? Use this time for you, dude.
Sure. Thank you so much. And I'm so glad that you're able to connect to those that greater power in yourself. So
Thank you.
my website again is silvercordss.com. Uh, it's like the lifeline for astral travel concept. But and I'm also on YouTube and Facebook, Silvercord Spiritual Science, and you can reach my assistant Mary at mokorn@hotmail.com. Thank you.
You're welcome. Everybody, stay tuned to Wolf Spirit Radio. William Demarest with Bex Stars. I forget the name of the show. Anyway, it's an awesome show. He's got Gary Byrne on today. So stay tuned because Bill's got some awesome guests and interviews, and he's lined this one up, and it's going to be one that you're going to want to hear. World, I love you, and I love you. So everybody just be good always, and I'll talk to you next week. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you.